Hi, my name is Selema Masekela. I'll say it for you one more time. Selema Masekela. And you are listening to the What Shapes Us podcast. Of the 24 episodes we are doing, on my list, it says, we're not doing this without Osinski.
I'm sure.
In bold.
That's hilarious.
It says, we are not doing this podcast, this season, if Osinski doesn't show up. We're scrapping.
We're scrapping it.
I'm literally like, machete, burn the files. Isn't that what I said? And he said, all right, you tell me when. I'll press that button.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Well, the truth is this podcast started in the sauna many moons ago. And it's just continuing now. And it's just continuing. I feel like we're always talking in a podcast manner to each other.
It's really funny that you say that because you and I... Now, the audience right now is like, wait, they were in a sauna together?
We were in a sauna.
We were.
And ice baths.
Yeah, we were in a sauna, and we were in an ice bath, and then we were in a sauna again.
Filled with Navy SEALs and nerds.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how we met the first time. When was that? 2000. It was before the pandemonium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a really long time ago.
It was before the... I don't know if you've heard all the different various... Like, comedians will not say the pandemic.
They call it pandemonium.
The pandemonium.
Cute.
The any P word, any multi-syllabic P word in the place of pandemic. Yeah. As a way to like find light, post light humor through the horror of what we lived through.
Crazy.
But yeah, I met you before the panini. 2008, 17, 18?
19?
19?
I don't know.
18, I think
it
it's
was right
18.
after the first time I went to Spirit Weavers and I became addicted to the concept of freezing cold water and saunaing.
You went to, what's Spirit Weavers?
Spirit Weavers. It's a women's
Spirit
gathering.
Weavers?
Spirit Weavers.
Spirit?
Spirit. Yes.
Spirit Weavers.
Spirit Weavers. It's like a women's gathering that happens in Oregon every year. And it's all ancestral skills. So like leather dyeing, archery, like ceremonies. And it sounds woo-woo as but it's amazing. I think every woman should go in their life. Anyway, that's when I learned about ice baths because I would like go in the sauna every morning like 6 a.m. and then go in the freezing cold river, which is the last wild river in Oregon. I remember I looked up at a tree and there was like a hawk landing on the top of a pine tree and I was like, this is the most peaceful I've ever felt in my whole life.
That's a movie right
yeah,
there. That's an option on the Calm app.
I know I felt something in my body that I was like, wow, I just want to keep doing this. So that's why I found I was like, where can I find a sauna and an ice bath? Found it in Venice at Deuce Gym. Went. And I was like, this is the place for me. I met Kimmy, met you.
Yeah.
And
I remember that day when we met in there, in the sauna. And I was like, this young woman's interesting.
They were talking about like aliens.
Yeah, we talked about everything.
It went far. Yeah. Every day I just remembered being like, this sauna is the secret of the real community happening in Venice. Like, every person who walked in there, it was like strangers, and it wasn't like this awkward, I'm not going to look at you because I'm in California, we're like too cool. It's like people really open up and...
You can't bring your into the yard. The yard we speak of is the gym that I've been a member at for 10 years.
Wow.
And now I helped, we just bought the property and...
What?
Yeah, we bought the property, so we expanded the yard.
Holy maybe I need to go.
You do. I've been
lifting baby. I'm not a workout with people kind of girl. I like being alone.
Listen, I will get you dialed for some one-on-one alone, and then we'll get you up to speed. It's interesting that you say that because you are such a with people person in everything else you do. Like if you follow Lucy Osinski on the socials, it's just about collective energy and creating spaces
That's why.
For people. Oh,
Literally,
so then in your personal, like, you need to be like, let me turn
for
this
everything.
off. But in this case, you won't be leading.
No, I know, but it's just I like my spiritual life and practice and the habits I have are like very serious to me, and I live by them. Like I do breath work almost every day. I meditate, I journal, I have a whole thing, workout every day. Leo Cancer. Okay. I'm like half and half. I'm a cusper. Okay. And I don't know. I just realized my natural thing is when I'm with other people, I want to share it. And I start focusing more on them than myself. It's like I naturally just want to make sure that other person is feeling good. And I don't focus on myself. So it's like my time to actually give back to myself because I give out so much. Like I have to like make a genuine effort to forcefully focus in on me, and those are the spaces. So like working out, even I've done breath work with friends who I love. My parents I've done breath work with, and I'm like next to them, I'm like, are they breathing right? Like breathe from your stomach, mom. Like I just can't focus on myself. So I just like need to make those spaces for myself. I can be convinced. I also probably have a little bit of like, I don't know, from being a ballerina and a woman, I definitely feel like this feeling all the time of like I'm very hyper aware of how I'm perceived in community spaces because I think working with 9 other women for so many years and leading this community and the work that I do, you can say, can you pass me that cup? And 9 people will interpret it differently. Oh, for sure. The other person was like, that was rude. Another person be like, I'd like it better if you'd say, can I please have it? Like people interpret the world around them so differently, and it's your responsibility as a leader to like be really clear on the way you communicate. So in all these spaces, even if I'm just like wanting to let go and focus on myself, I'm aware of how I'm coming off. And it's really difficult just to like let go. And so these things are like all come into the field. I'm like, why I just do it alone?
Fascinating.
Yeah.
For that reason, the type of coaching that takes place could potentially relieve you of said burden. So I will invite you for you just come with me at a class one time and we'll see. But we'll start with just some one-on-one.
Why don't we do an exchange? If I come to one of those classes and you come to the Cove with me. Okay. All
right.
Yeah.
We're going to get into so much in this conversation. I can't tell you how. I went
too far too quick. Sorry.
No, you will know what you've done. You've set the table. People who are watching and listening right now are going like.
They're like, this girl.
I don't know who this girl is. But I want to know everything.
I don't know, but okay.
Or I know
I don't want to know.
I know this girl, and I've always wanted to know more.
Maybe.
Which is what happened to me in the sauna.
Okay.
When we met. Okay. Our conversation took such a beautiful journey through life and connective humanity, and many lives lived. I think you and I. The common thread in our friendship is that we've lived a bunch of lives. Yeah. People know us for a thing. Yeah. But like what all the steps and the places that we've investigated to get to the thing, that part. Yeah. I would like you just for like at a surface level to take us through a little bit of the journey of the things you've done to get to where you are. First of all, where'd you grow up?
Grew up in more upstate New York near like Woodstock area. Artsy, folksy scene. And I grew up in this like amazing place full of nature, very close to the city. So it was like near art and culture, but I lived fully in nature as a kid, like literally in the mountains. And I was. When
you say the city, like New York
City, yeah. We'd go, I'm an hour and a half from the city. So we'd like go see Broadway shows every month, and was very involved in like Broadway shows and ballet. I was a professional ballerina really young. I started dancing. My whole life was ballet. It was like I went to school, I went home, ate something really quick. Most of the times didn't even go home. And then I would dance for 4 to 5 hours every night, 7 days a week. My whole life. Like that was like my whole childhood.
Does young Lucy remember the thing that pulled her towards dance, towards ballet?
I was super competitive. I was like, I'm going to be the best.
So you saw some other girls doing this thing and you were like,
no, it was just extremely hard. It's the hardest thing. It's like if
so you're competitive against yourself.
Yeah, if your pinky is off, like you can be doing the hardest thing in the world, but it still is bad.
An old woman comes by with a cane and
oh yeah, my Russian teacher was gnarly.
Put that pinky in place.
Sheesh. She was gnarly, and then I studied Royal Academy of Dance, which is like they do like
That's kind of a big deal.
It is. It's like really. It's like there's
That's like the
Vaganova,
X-Men.
kinda, but they have like I wouldn't say it's X-Men. It's like up there, but it's a type of style that there's exams every year, and like the lower exams 1 through 5 are like pretty chill, like kids could pass it, and then it gets to advanced 2 and advanced 3. And if you pass advanced 3, like how doctors can write doctor at their name, I can write ARAD. Like I passed the RAD exams, like 20 people a year pass. It's like a really big deal. People all over the world can do the exam. It's like wearing a leotard, hair slicked back, 5 judges in front of you and 2 girls and a pianist, and you're doing like 110 exercises, both sides. They change the music every time you turn, so you have to follow and count, and then they like speak to you in French and you have to know exactly. It's insane. And I passed it. It took me 2 years to pass it. And I think I was gunning after that so hard that I was like just thinking about that all the time. And yeah, my whole life was ballet. I had an amazing best friend. I was super weird, but like in a good way, like weird, silly. Like I just had like the best childhood. Like really just couldn't have a better childhood of even with the ballet thing. I was like just having fun. Like
I was gonna
so
say because I saw Black Swan.
Yeah, it's messed up, but I like had a community like really cool friends outside of ballet, so I felt like I like balanced it all and had like a regular life. Went to college on full scholarship. One day I woke up and kind of looked around, and I was like realizing if the teacher wasn't looking, I like didn't want to do anything. And the jazz dancers who weren't very ballet talented like would just give it their all. And after I was like, why you guys seem so happy? Like we hate this. We're just competitive. Don't we all hate this? And they were like, what? They're like, we all love this. So I started
danced jazz. Have you not danced jazz? Oh my God, she hasn't danced jazz.
I love jazz. Jazz is so fun, but I wasn't as good as jazz as I was ballet. I just like asked everyone. They're like, yeah, we love it. And first time in my life, I realized like I didn't love ballet. And I grew up with parents.
Elite.
Yeah. I was like I was at the top of my career in that way. Like I was on full scholarship, and my parents, we didn't come from money at all. Like I remember so many times them sitting me down and being like, all of our money is going to this. Like all of our money. Like, are you sure you want this? Are you sure?
We expect to see you in London in the Nutcracker in 7 years.
Yeah, they just were like, are you sure?
Are you going to dance at Lincoln Center?
I was like, Mom, that's my dream. I'm like crying. And she was like, okay. So I started working at a pizza shop at 16. Like I was paying for my dance classes with them because like we couldn't afford it. So for me to make this realization that I didn't love ballet was like very scary. And I called my parents and I was like, guys, I don't want to do this anymore. Like it was like within a day, when it all clicked. I was like, this isn't what I wanted to do the rest of my life. I don't even love it. And they were so kind. They're like, whatever. Like, they were like, we understand. Like, you can dye, you can shave your head. We wouldn't care. Like, we love you no matter what. And I was like, oh my God. It was like the biggest weight off my shoulders. What year are you in
school at this point?
End of freshman year. And I gave
out
my entire scholarship. My school let me keep a portion of it, which is pretty sick nasty. But so I went on this journey of like, what do I love? Like I need to figure out what I love. So I interned at a clothing company, a music venue, at a radio show. I interned on a radio station, which at the time was like in Pittsburgh, which was like the person I DJ'd for was like Wiz Khalifa's DJ. And then I met Mac Miller and was friends with his whole crew. And like, there was like a weird scene I was in Pittsburgh in that year. And just like interned everywhere under the sun while working at a restaurant. And I started double majoring because I still kept my ballet, my dance scholarship by holding on to like 1 credit. So I still had that like 1 credit and I had to take like dance history classes. But yeah, I just like hustled my way through it and ended up working for Red Bull Music Academy as like in sophomore year. They like hired me to do Red Bull radio because I was in the radio scene. I was just hustling, trying to find what I love. Interned at Cannes Film Festival, like moved mountains to get to the south of France, paid out of loans, so much debt just to study abroad. And I don't know, I was just always looking for this thing that I love, and I ended up getting a job in working on commission for this film finance company run by these 2 women. And so I moved back after studying abroad and lived in New York and was working at a bowling alley called Lucky Strike Lanes. Working at a bowling alley while simultaneously starting to work for this film finance company. So I was like basically doing these like panels for the film festivals. So I would question, yes.
At the bowling alley?
Yeah.
Were you spraying the shoes?
No, I was a waitress.
Oh, okay.
just getting harassed by sweet, sweet men.
Mm.
It was awful. Yeah, so much harassment. Insane. Just terrible things that happen to women being in the service industry and just being in the world. It's terrible. Things you have to learn and go through. But yeah,
finance company. I interrupted you.
Oh, it's okay. And I started going in the film festival circuit. So I'd be at like Cannes Film Festival and I'd go, or then Shanghai Film Festival, Zurich, all these places. And then I'd go back to working at a bowling alley. So I was like always bouncing between all these different worlds. Like I can chameleon pretty easily into spaces. And yeah, one day I woke up and I was like, I hate it in New York. Like, why am I here? I hated Brooklyn. I hated it. And I moved across the country with my car and like the little money that I had to San Francisco with no job, just like went for it and got a really, really cheap apartment, started interviewing, got a job at Yelp doing tech sales. And I was like wondering this whole time, like, where did that competitiveness go? Like, where did that go? And I started doing sales and it all came out. I went crazy. I would make like 180 calls a day. I went from like number 2000 in the company to number 13. Like I blew it out of the park and it was wild. But at the same time, I was like, I started to learn about spirituality and I started to like really notice myself missing nature and like all the things from like leaving childhood into being an adult and recognizing like, oh, you get to choose your life started to come into play. And I was working in tech and all these other things. And the partner I was with, it was from the south of France, and his parents were like, hey, there's a property near our summer house. Like, any chance you guys would want to start a farm? And we were like, yeah, let's sell all of our shit. We sold everything we owned.
Hi, HR. Yeah, I know I'm the number one in sales, and this is
I
great.
wasn't the number one.
And money's cool, but I'm gonna go.
I was miserable.
I'm gonna go farm.
Yeah, it was miserable. Working in tech sales
I'm sure it was horrible.
I was like taking the train to work. It was just gnarly. I didn't skate or surf at the time. Like I think my main exercise was like hiking and stuff. Very chill. Anyway, I moved to the south of France with zero farming experience. We started learning how to do permaculture.
What does that mean?
Permaculture is a type of farming and a way of living that's all around this concept of people being a part of the system rather than the center of the system, and earth share, people share.
Little commune?
Very commune, but like in the way you live, the way you eat, the way you make your own electricity, the way you grow your food is all about like collective understanding that you're not the center of it.
Yeah, you're not in charge.
And so, yeah, I was always looking for community in these spaces. So I was like, farming, great community. I'm going to be doing permaculture, community everywhere. And
what a different community to go from like Tech Bro SF.
I was with like, it was an account. We were like the lowest of the low. So it was mostly college graduates. So I was around weirdos and my friends were all like spiritual weirdos. Like I wasn't like with tech bros.
Yeah. The tech bros were telling y'all what to do.
They were the man.
I was amongst the people.
Yes.
Being like, I hate it.
I was like, this sucks, but I love the challenge.
Right.
And then I started farming. At the same time, still working in the finance world. So film finance. So I would like be working on my farm, and then I'd like go to Shanghai for the film festival and be at the most VIP and like la 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 la, and then go back to like digging. Right. And then I started teaching English in the Monaco school system, which was so funny. I was literally not brainwashing. I was teaching. Yes. Literal princes. Like I had like Spanish royalty in my class, and they were 11 in Monaco. And they were like, teach whatever you want. Like, you can just have to speak English. It's just English immersion. Like 6 months went by and no one ever checked on my class. Wow. And I was
these aren't rich people.
I was like, oh, I'm going to teach them the truth. And I was like, let's talk about monoculture. Let's talk about Monsanto. And I made them do a Monsanto project. And I was like, you have to tell me 5 things about Monsanto that you didn't find from their marketing. And these like 11-year-olds were coming in like, pesticides are wrong. And I was like, I know. And then I was like, my work here is done. Wow. And then I left and I never worked there again. So that was my time in Monaco farming. I ended up like not working out with the person I was with there, not wanting that life. There was like actually no community there. In the farming space there was, but in the south of France, I thought, oh, rich people, they're going to like give you everything, but they actually build high walls and keep all their things to themselves. Yeah. Which was not what I expected. And I moved home to New York, was just trying to find myself. I remember being like so happy to speak English. I remember walking around, I found llama stickers. Stickers of llamas.
Stickers of.
And I was just walking around offering them to people because I was like, you know what I'm asking? I was like, do you want a llama sticker? They'd be like, sure. And I'm like, you speak my language. You get me. You're weird. Like in south of France, it's very much like you wear the outfit, you're the thing. It's like, it's a lot. I couldn't handle it. And my body was like, I'm out. So ended up I started teaching karate, kickboxing. Someone taught me. I just need to find a job, and then I was working.
Wait.
Yes.
How did you get to teach karate? And
they taught me. I had to learn for a month.
For a month.
Yeah. It was like kids karate. Like I had to
Right.
learn like basics. I was just teaching basics.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. I had to like learn to count to 10 in Korean and like the hand movements.
Right. Amazing.
So I did that, and then I was still working in the film world. Went to AFM, American Film Market, which happens in LA every year. And I came here, and I always thought, because I've been to LA a million times, I have family out here. And I was always like, chain mall, smog, traffic. Like, I would never live in LA.
You would never catch me.
Never.
I'm a woman who appreciates
nature.
Nutritious dirt under
Yeah, that's what I wanted. And I was like,
only get dressed up if I have to go and try and sell movies.
Yeah, that's exactly how I
felt. Get back into my body.
It wasn't it for me. And then I came here and stayed in Santa Monica on Bicknell. And I remember coming out of the apartment I was in, and I was like, wait, this apartment has a backyard and like the beach is right there. And there's someone on a skateboard. And I've never seen a person on the skateboard who wasn't Tony Hawk. Like I remember as a kid seeing Tony Hawk, but I've never seen a skater in person.
How old are you at this point?
26.
Wow.
Never seen a skater in person. I went to the beach. There was people surfing. I'm like, what is this place? Like, I had no idea this was cool.
That was your first time, like, physically seeing someone not Tony Hawk in real life.
Yeah.
Going from point A to point B.
Yeah.
On a skateboard.
I was like, whoa, people live like this? I had no idea. So I like.
Are the X Games happening? Are you on your way to the X Games? Excuse me, sir. Sir? Oh no, you're going to get coffee.
Yeah, I just didn't understand. Like it was also new. So I like put out to the universe, like, okay, if I find a house with a yard in Santa Monica, maybe I'll move there. I just put that out in the universe on Facebook. I'm not kidding.
The universe, aka Facebook.
But like the concept of me moving.
Yes.
And I like put it on Facebook. I was thinking about it.
Remember that's what Facebook was for?
Yeah.
Like, just for you to like
ask questions. Yeah. And I went to an event in New York City. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I forget why, but I met a producer who was like, wow, you have all these like film finance contacts, like people who know finance contacts. We want you.
You have a very valuable phone book.
Yeah. But it was just, whatever. And this guy was like, I want to hire you. I own a production company in Los Angeles. We'll pay for you to move to LA. It was like, I wasn't even looking for a job. I didn't ask for a job. I got offered a job, paid to move there. It was like, I think it was like $3,000 a month, which insane at the time. I had no money. I was so broke. I had like nothing. And
back when you could get an apartment for $3,000 a month in LA.
Yeah. And
look at that. You put it out and Zuckerberg was like, girl,
I got you.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
He got me. And like my friend from college reached out and was like, hey, like me and my boyfriend work at SpaceX and we're like looking for the same exact thing. I sent them 4 houses to go look at. They were like, we love this one. You want to sign a lease? Sign the lease from New York. My room was $1,100 a month on the backyard, huge backyard right in Santa Monica. $1,100 a month with a job within like less than a month. And I was like, whoa. And I remember writing in my journal. I actually was looking at my old journal and I was like, I don't know why, but I feel like something really important is waiting for me in LA. Like, I don't know why, but it feels like I'm supposed to be in this place. It was so strange. I felt this like calling. Like it was very weird because everywhere in the world was open. I love Barcelona. I love these places. I was like, I don't know. Moved to Los Angeles and I was so lost. Like I didn't have direction in my life. I was working in this film company. There was no community. I was working under like a really intense guy. Lots of misogyny, lots of gnarly drama. Like film industry is not, I thought the film industry was like so beautiful. It's politics, ego, and money. That's it. It's it.
They're the people who make the art.
Definitely.
Are
the cool ones.
Of the essence. The people
ego though, babes.
Yeah.
Ego city.
And I think a lot of the people who get into the commerce of moving art, right? Selling distribution, getting things financed, etc. Those people, I see it in television, I see it in film, and even in fashion. Sometimes those people want to be adjacent to people who make things so that they can feel like they make things.
For sure.
Like they say, like, oh
For
no, this
sure.
is my movie.
For sure.
This is the thing
sure.
I made, and try to bury as much as they can the people who actually like did the thing.
For sure. Even like being in the film festival space, it was like most of the parties that you go to at these festivals are so lame. They're painful. Just business. You're just there to rub shoulders and talk. The only fun parties were the ones of like the actual directors or like the production teams, and they were wild and crazy and cool, and I thought that's what the film industry was. Anyway, I wasn't in that part of the industry, sadly enough. But I moved here and I was just really lost. The relationship I was in that I left in France was pretty abusive, and I didn't know how to deal with any of it. I didn't even know what abuse was. Like, I didn't even know how to process. I didn't know anything about any of it. I was just like, just figuring it out every day, you know? And I met this guy, and he, on our first like time hanging out, he was on a skateboard. He worked for Carver Skateboards, the surf skate brand. And I was like, oh, that looks fun. And he was like, oh, I'll teach you. And like showed me how to skate. And that night was this like one of the most magical nights of my life. Like I wrote about it right after. And I was like, he was teaching me how to skate. It was nighttime in Venice. It was like when jasmine was blooming. So everything smelled like jasmine. It was warm out. So everyone was outside. And he was teaching me in front of the owner of Carver's house, the guy who created surf skate, the guy who created this whole movement. It just felt mystical. The whole thing, that house is where surf skate was created. He's teaching me outside. And I remember being like, I'm going to write a movie about this. This is like the craziest night of my life. It was so magical. And I thought it was because
the jasmine was blooming.
Yeah.
I literally, I saw the DP setting up the wide shot and then into the close up on the feet and then the pullback to this is what's taking place. I smelt the air. I smelt the jasmine. I felt the warmth.
Yeah. It felt like something really special was happening, and I thought, oh, it's because me and him are falling in love. Like we're having this like moment. I met my person, you know. Needless to say, we're still together. It's 7 years later. Like it could have been that, but me and him have talked about it. I'm like, I really think that night was so, like people were coming out of their house because they heard us and were like, hey, you guys are skating. Like people were being, it was like there was like a buzz in the air. It was strange. And I like look back and I'm like, I think it's because it was the night he taught me to skate. Like him teaching me. I have people every day who come up to me, literally at airports. I skate because of you. Like I learned to skate because of you. And I'm like, he taught me this thing that literally changed the face of what skateboarding was. Like it was that moment, that click changed everything in my life. My trajectory of my entire life changed that moment I got on a skateboard. And honestly, a lot of times when I teach people to skate, I see that click happen in their eyes and I'm like, I know your life's about to change. The day I learned to skate, I had direction every day. Every day, what do? I'm going to go skate. I had a community. Naturally, there was people and places to go to be a part of it. I had this feeling of like, oh, I'm not like this weak little ballerina who's like went through this abusive situation. I'm lost. It's like, no, I'm bad. It's like, I'm on this skateboard. Do you see me on this skateboard? I'm on this skateboard. Like, it just felt liberating. And it gave me this sense of like, I belong almost in this place that I didn't know anyone, and I was so new and it was scary, and Venice is like intimidating and it's very cool, and I never thought I was cool, and it was just a lot. And I remember being like I belong here because I'm on a skateboard. And so much about the work that I do today is like, I swear every time it's like I'm speaking to the person who I was, because I know it has the capacity to change your entire life, everything that you do. I mean, that's the story.
I love, I've heard this entirety of this story, minus some of the pieces, very interesting pieces, especially the monocle part, but also it's you. So I'm sure there's like 5 other countries that you left out. But when you told me your story about skateboarding and how it affected you and what it was doing to your life in real time when we met in the sauna, and you told me about this Grl Swirl thing, I don't know if you remember my response.
Mm-mm.
But I just was like, you're going to create the biggest thing.
Oh yeah, you did say
in the
that.
world.
I remember that. You were like, you believed in me from the first second. You were like, oh yeah, you're about to take over the world.
I'm not trying to take this isn't a me credit points.
I know.
But I'm just trying to back up your story.
Yeah.
Because when you told me that, and then you said Grl Swirl, I literally I remember like I was like, listen, you don't know me from anything, but what you are talking about will change the landscape of this thing. And you were like, what are you even talking about? It's just, I'm just trying to create space and it's small. And you adamantly,
I think I fought you, yeah.
You adamantly fought me and you told me it's not a brand.
You totally do remember
It's
that.
not a brand. It's not going to be a brand. It's not what it's about. I'm trying to spread essentially the gospel of the thing that I feel so that other women can feel comfortable. And I'm like, yes, all of that. But that's the reason why it's going to explode, because you've hacked open a portal in a thing that's existed forever, for which women have had to like jump high hurdles and maybe pretend to be something they're not in order to feel a sense of place in the thing. And even the connectivity between the women who do it is weird because they don't know how to do it, because the boys are sort of setting the tone for what they're supposed to be.
Totally.
Without awareness that that's what they're doing, but that's what's taking place. And so I said to you, I'm like, listen, here's my number. And anytime you want to ever talk about anything that has to do with this, just reach out, because you're about to go on a ride.
Yeah. I remember that. I totally remember that now. That's so funny. Yeah.
And look.
I know. I know. I know.
It's crazy. It's truly, it's incredible. I want to know though from your, that's my male perspective on the thing. I want to know from you, what did you see? You fall in love with skateboarding. You have this moment with that may have been like a duality of falling in love, but also getting access to falling in love with yourself.
Totally.
In a way that you were
well said,
looking for through all these different things, right? And you're at this point of like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
This piece of wood, metal, and urethane, suddenly you're like, oh,
yeah,
this thing is earthing me, right? And I'm getting open to myself. What did you start to discover in your repetition of showing up to skateboarding that's calling you, that made you be like, wait, something's missing?
I was still so scared to even skate on the boardwalk. Like, I would skate on the boardwalk and people would yell at me, they would catcall me, they'd say do a kickflip. Like, I'd go to the Venice skate park, and I actually was there so much. Like, I went there so much. Like, I would be there every single day for months. So, and the community there is really cool. So everyone like lets you in the space and is like, it's so open and beautiful. And I definitely felt like people were always sharing. Like, I think there's a misconception that like Grl Swirl's anti-men, or like don't take credit to any men. Like, it's,
I have a Grl Swirl skateboard.
Thank you. I learned a lot from men. Men taught me a lot, like shared a lot of knowledge, and it wasn't them being like, let me mansplain you, though they do that very frequently. Like, I asked and they would help, or like I would look like I needed, I would be like confused and they'd be like, oh, do you need anything? Like, people were actually really cool in that space. But I just felt like I was always like the only girl I was around. And when I did see other girls, I'd be like, do you want to join my text chain? Like, we could all skate together. Like, I was a weirdo. Like, I really was chasing girls down. I didn't have that many friends in Venice yet, so I was like, yeah, like, we're all gonna skate together. That's like a way to make friends, I guess. And so then after a while, I had this like text chain. And one night we all met up, and it was that moment where I think that feeling where you're saying like, what was that thing that was missing? Like, we all kind of looked at each other, the 8 other women who showed up that night, and we're like, oh my God, like, this is what's been missing. It's like, people weren't catcalling us, they were cheering us on. People weren't like being rude to us, they were like stoked. And in return, we were stoked, and I felt safe, and I didn't feel nervous, and I felt like even I wasn't a good skater, like the same way I would be a bad skater in the park, people wouldn't say shit to me. Like, I was a bad skater right there. And my friends were like, you're so good. Yeah. Like, it was just all about celebrating the people near us. And that night we sat down, we're like, whoa, like, that was really special. Like, let's keep doing this. Like, we should keep doing this. I was like, oh well, I called it Grl Swirl, and everyone was like, that's actually a great name. And so that night we are like, let's make this a real thing. So we made like the Instagram. We sat down. We're like, let's actually do this. Like for real. Let's host group skates and like see where it goes. And the next week we hosted a group skate. And I think like 20 people showed up. And we were like, oh, this is pretty sick. And I remember we posted a photo and it started like going viral. And we're like, whoa. And I was like, okay, I created this thing. Like, this is what we're gonna do. I want to have like a group of people who do philanthropy because Gabe and I were teaching at an orphanage. Like when I learned to skate, I didn't even know how to teach. I didn't know how to even skate really, but I was like, this thing is changes lives. Like I need to bring it places. And I reached out to an orphanage in LA and I just started teaching skate at an orphanage. And I was like, we need to have philanthropy and we need to have someone who manages the group skate and we need to have someone who does like production of photos and we need to have somebody who manages like the organization of everything. Who feels equipped for those things? People just raised their hand. Somebody went to college. Somebody didn't go to college. Somebody was a NASA scientist. Like we had crazy different types of co-founders. And the diversity of those people is what made us so successful because each one of those people came with you could have this conversation with each one of those co-founders and have the coolest stories. Each one of them contributed so many different things to Grl Swirl and different perspectives that made it what it was because it wasn't just me making Grl Swirl. It wasn't like a one person creation. It was like a movement created by a group of people from different places. And of course, we can't represent all sorts, every single space and every experience, but I think showing that a group of girls, like you said, the girls within the community of skate already are like, they don't even know how to talk to each other sometimes because they're pinned up against each other because there was never space for women. So coming in and demanding space and saying, oh, we belong here. We're here to have fun and celebrate each other and celebrate skateboarding was like pretty shocking. And I think it like touched a nerve with not just women, but also men. Like I think instantly people like you, people like brands, all sorts of people instantly caught their eye. And so what we did was we started continuing to host these group skates. The next group skate, there was 50, and the next there was like 70, and it just was growing. We're like, what is happening? The Instagram started growing. We started like doing shoots every week, just creative shoots. And then we started getting asked to shoot for brands, and we started negotiating things and doing productions. And we created a creative agency. Then we were like, oh, we should be teaching more kids. So we started teaching children, Boys and Girls Club, went down to Mexico and taught refugees. We just started, everything just naturally started to happen. But as the person who led the whole thing and was also the face of it and running the social, so how people perceive it, and shooting a lot of the video and all these other things, it was really interesting. Like it was definitely like, it felt every day like we were doing something really revolutionary. Like it felt wild.
It's the most disruptive thing, I believe, to happen to skateboarding in the modern era.
Wow. That's
like
crazy.
I really do believe so. Especially since you did it through surf skate.
Yeah, that's the thing I think. Surf skate is so different.
Because the surf skate is inherently way more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
You're not asking anyone to launch it in the air and rotate it or do any of those things. It's literally about just riding the skateboard and taking it back to the roots of the original roots of the relationship between skating and surfing, which a lot of people who were hardcore skateboarders were like, that's kooky. Even surfers were like, if you're using that to like train for surfing, that's whack. Like you just should only be surfing, like not that stuff. Yeah. And you took this thing that like neither side necessarily wanted to be associated with. Like surfers who surf skated didn't post it on their Instagram.
Totally.
Like they'd do it privately, but they wouldn't really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like adults, like kids, obviously it's a different thing. But you took this thing that was there.
Yeah. That
people were gaining access to that didn't come from either world. And you and your team of women essentially built an international village of access to be associated with skateboard and feel like without having to ask for permission.
And surf skate was cool because I felt like because my boyfriend works for Carver, and then he lived with Neil, who started Carver, with Greg, who lived down the street. I was so in the space of surf skate. So I was around the people who created it, spent 20 years getting called kooks and like killed themselves trying to figure out what this truck was, and who were just like so stoked for me. Like before I even knew how to skate well, they were like there cheering me on, you know? So when Grl Swirl first started, they were like pretty instantly open to working with us, which was really cool, because it felt like we already had backing from this like brand that we all loved. You know, it was more about like the relationship, and I felt just like, oh my god, these people are genuinely good, amazing people. It just felt like community all around. And Grl Swirl was as a community was growing so fast. We were getting requests to open up all over the world, and our group skates were getting huge, and the productions were getting huge, and the negotiations and the contract, everything was just growing so fast that we all had to kind of stop and be like, this thing is growing faster than we ever imagined.
It exploded.
We have to commit our lives to this or it's done, you know? And so you know, it was really hard running it with a group of people who all have their other lives and their other things, who all can give it all for their 2 months, and none of us were being paid for so long. We invested all the money that we made into buying skateboards, risking everything, and being like,
and failing a few times.
Yeah, but the boards was a success. That was a big ass risk that worked. Like we were like, let's like do a model with Carver. Let's ask if they would do it, and they did. And we invested all of our money, like so much money, into those boards. Did it out of my garage, and they sold out.
I remember.
And it was wild. It was like, oh my god, like we can make products. Like we can actually do this. And we started seeing all the opportunities and how things can grow. And fast forward all these years, now we're the world's largest skate collective. We have 8 chapters around the world. We have a huge merchandise program. We do events around the world. We teach thousands of kids to skate. We raised $80,000 for local shelters. Like we've done so much cool work, but it all was from like this group of women working really hard and going through some hard, big, gnarly moments. And I don't know, it's a testament. We're all still friends. They're all still shareholders, silent shareholders, and 2 of the people run the company with me. And then we have some of the other co-founders as team riders and employees. But it's like the fact that we all still love each other and all still put the mission first in front of ourselves is like a testament to how like pure this thing is. Like it was never how, that's why I probably was like, I'm not making a brand. It's because like this will never be and has never been about making money. It will never be about a business. It was always like, we are working so hard growing this mission of getting people on boards. Like we have to find a way to fund it, because there's no way we can do all the things that we know we have to do in the world. Like I'm about to leave for a world skate tour. We're hitting 16 cities and we have like 100 RSVPs for a city we've never even been to, of people who are like moms.
Where?
The next one's in Phoenix, and it's almost 100 people RSVP'd, and we haven't even posted it. Like I have not posted it. And it's like, that's how there's such a demand for this space of all levels. And it's like, all these things are just like happening because we had to like devote our lives to it, you know? And it's a sacrifice and it's gnarly, but like, yeah, it's been like the most fruitful, beautiful experience for sure. It's kind of like every day, there's still like pinch me moments all the time. Like we were shooting that board, and then we walked into a studio in detail that we rented. It was like so fancy. It was like $200 an hour, or $200 for the whole session. But it was like, we have a studio. Like this is crazy. This is us.
Look at how nice the lights are.
I know. Usually it's like for like on the brand's dollar, not ours. Like we're shooting for a brand. So it's like there's so many pinch me moments still. It doesn't get old. And yeah, the co-founders are still all together and celebrating this kind of stuff together. Like as soon as I was in the studio, I messaged the group and was like, hey guys, remember we were shooting like out of my like garage? Like look where we're at right now. And they're like, yeah, like it's so cool. It's so cool.
Lucy Osinski, I cannot thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Enough.
Yeah.
I didn't even do an intro.
Oh.
Usually I do an intro. Usually I'd be like, hey everybody, welcome to an exciting episode of...
Well, you could do it after.
I don't even know if we're going to need it for this one. What do you think, Machete? No, we don't. We don't need it.
You're going to be like, who is this girl talking about spirit weavers?
Well, we'll...
turn it off.
Listen.
It's okay.
We didn't even get into surfing.
Surfing. Yeah, we'll do that another time.
We'll do that another time.
I'm going to Waco next week.
Of course you are.
So excited.
I have been there for a whole day before with just like 10 friends.
So
and there's more. You get more surfing in a day at Waco
than you do
in like months, literally. So
so excited.
go get that.
Yeah. And
Scene.